Hello everyone. So I wanted to talk about tropes used in storytelling, in particular, villain tropes for this episode. Spoiler warning. Now, what is a trope? Well, a trope is a significant or recurrent theme that serves as a building block for storytelling. And these tropes can be character related, such as the chosen one, the mentor, or the anti-hero. There are also plot related tropes, such as the three-act structure, thematic tropes, like the redemption arc, and so on. The villain tropes I want to focus on in this episode are a villain killing his henchmen or servants, and a character being cruel to an animal, usually a dog, to show how evil they are. Both of these have been written well into stories, or overused to the point where they are a cliché, which is a phrase, image, or idea that has been overused to the point where it has lost its meaning, impact, and creativity. So, beginning with number 1, a villain killing his henchmen/servants. Darth Vader was not the first villain to kill his men on screen, but he is the most iconic character referenced when talking about this trope. Darth Vader killing Admiral Ozzel and Captain Needa in Empire Strikes Back was not shocking, nor did it detract from his character already established up to this point, because of the setup in A New Hope. In Episode 4, we saw Vader nearly choke a man to death because the Moff was dismissive and rude about the Force and Vader's abilities. Only the intervention of Grand Moff Tarkin prevented this man from dying on the spot. Now, you can argue Vader was simply making a point by how helpless this man was next to the Sith Lord, and he wasn't really going to kill him. But an argument can be equally made that Vader, while toying with this Moff, would not have hesitated to snap his neck to send a message to everyone else in the room. In Empire Strikes Back, there is no one holding Vader's leash, the Emperor being too far away, and as long as the person wasn't a political ally to the Emperor, I can't see that old prune caring about who Vader killed. So when Ozzel blunders for the last time, taking the fleet out of hyperspace too close to the Hoth system, and thus alerting the rebels, Vader dispatches him, and promotes Captain Piet, who had already shown his competence earlier. Despite his anger at losing the advantage, Vader punishes the one person responsible. He does not kill Veers for being the messenger bringing bad news, which is another trope that has become a cliché, and I've only seen it recently used once where it made sense, and that was when Daemon, in the first season of House of the Dragon, killed the messenger bearing a message from his brother the king, promising aid. It was set up skillfully and made perfect sense for Daemon's character to behave like this. Okay, sorry for the side tangent, back to the actual episode. Where was I? Ah yes, Captain Needa. Needa was tasked with finding the Millennium Falcon when the ship disappeared into the asteroid field. Shortly after finding the ship, however, he loses it, just as Vader calls wanting an update on the search. Taking responsibility, Needa goes personally to Vader's flagship to apologize, and Vader accepts it, along with choking the foolish captain to death. I say foolish because Needa, instead of ordering the tractor beam to be engaged to capture the Falcon, when it flies towards his ship, instead orders, "Shield up!" Then, losing sight of the Falcon, his response is to go apologize to Vader, rather than try to come up with a strategy to find the little ship and present that instead. Yes, I lost the ship, but I have an idea how to find it. He knows there's a strong chance Vader is going to kill him, and yet, instead of coming up with a reason for his life to be spared, to show he still has value, he places all his hope on an apology and showing up in person to deliver it. The only one who escapes death is Admiral Piet, who definitely thinks Vader is going to kill him after the Falcon escapes near the end of the movie. But fortunately for Piet, Vader is not angered by Luke's escape, but saddened and contemplative. While the original Star Wars trilogy uses this villain trope well, in Dune Part 2 it was a hit and miss the 5 times it happens. Roba Harkonnen yelled a bit in Part 1 and was utterly ruthless in beheading the members of House Atreides that were taken captive. He had a healthy respectful fear for his uncle, the Baron, but he never threatened or killed any of his men. At the end of Part 1, the Baron ordered Roba to get the spice mining operations up and running again, and to eliminate the Fremen. When we finally see Roba in Part 2, nameless henchman, who I am going to call Idiot Number 1, tells Roba they're losing too many men to the desert, and should pull everyone back to focus on mining the spice. Roba corrects the guy, saying they're losing men to rats, meaning the Fremen, and Idiot Number 1 objects. He says, "Can't confirm, that it is the Fremen killing their men, as communications are spotty. Strike one. Roba reminds Idiot Number 1 that his orders were to control the planet, but they are only in charge of half of it. Idiot Number 1 says, well, as you may recall, the South is uninhabitable. Strike two. Then he commits the ultimate faux pas by suggesting that his boss get more sleep. Strike three. Roba then proceeds to smash the guy's head into a console, screaming, kill them, kill the rats, etc. The reason I don't like this scene is because it only works if this guy behaves like a half-witted nitwit, talking back to your superior, who you know is a ruthless individual, telling him to get more sleep. There's no other way Roba can respond than by killing Idiot Number 1, or he'll lose face in front of everyone else. It just felt very cartoonish. Oh no, the silly henchman said something stupid. The villain has to kill him. There's just no way this guy got as far as he did in Harkonnen society if he doesn't know when to watch his tongue. This scene felt as if it was done for shock value, while sacrificing a character's intelligence so he could meet a brutal end. Now, the next scene is when the Baron, in a fit of rage over their spice mining being constantly attacked by the Fremen, kills the two slave girls who had been attending him. We don't see the Baron kill these girls. Instead, we wait outside the room with Roba and the other Harkonnen officers and listen to the slaves' agonized screams as they are murdered. When Roba enters the room, he sees the girls' bodies against a blood-stained wall, leaving little to the imagination how they died. This is a good example of the trope, as we know how little the Baron valued life from Part 1, and how important the spice mining was to the galaxy, and for the Harkonnens to be the ones controlling it. Given the Baron's fear at losing control of mining the spice once again, it is in perfect line with his character to take his frustration and rage out on two helpless and not important slave girls. The fact that Roba and the other officers wait outside until the Baron's rage has passed only adds to the effectiveness of the scene. While none of these guys care about the slave girls, they are each imagining themselves on the receiving end of the Baron's anger, and thankful that they are not on the other side of the door. The third scene is set up when Roba goes in to talk to the Baron after he kills the slave girls. The Baron tells his nephew they must get the spice mining under control, or the Emperor will take it away. He orders Roba to tighten his hold, or he, the Baron, will tighten his around Roba. With his life and livelihood thus threatened, Roba leaves with a strike force to find the Fremen. This unfortunate guy is searching for life signs, reports that he's found it, but then loses it. And the pilot, yeah, he looks at the guy knowing exactly what's going to happen. Roba, without a word, moves and snaps the guy's neck before ordering the pilot to open fire. This scene also works. Roba has to succeed, or he is going to lose everything, and possibly his life. He can't get his hands around a Fremen's neck, and so he goes for the next best thing, the person who has failed to find them. Fortunately for Roba, the Baron does not kill him, but Roba may have wished for death when the Baron humiliates him by replacing him with another nephew. Enter Feyd-Rautha. Before we meet Feyd-Rautha, we are told he is psychotic, and we see this for ourselves when the guy tests the sharpness of his blades on two of the slave girls who were just getting him ready for the fight in the arena. Like the scene where the Baron kills his two slave girls, this scene also works because the Harkonnen society is thriving. Slaves are a dime a dozen. These two will be replaced by the time Feyd-Rautha steps out of the arena. The scene serves a purpose in showing how psychotic he is because the second girl, he does not kill quickly. He stabs her a couple times, a pause between each strike as he watches her gasp in pain before collapsing. Similar to the Baron's slaves, these girls do not have a choice where they are, and their lives were on the line ever since they were enslaved. Even if they are utterly obedient and perform their duties well, there is nothing that will protect them from the Harkonnens. The last scene is similar to the first in that it requires someone to be stupid in order to work, and so we have Idiot Number 2. Feyd-Rautha has launched a successful attack on one of the Fremen's homes and expresses a desire to go there in person. Idiot Number 2 tells him that this would be a bad idea. Yeah, Feyd-Rautha kills him. Again, this felt cartoonish, and yes, I know I'm using that word a lot, but you, the viewer, have to accept that somehow this guy got to the position he did. Remember, this is the control room. Not just any grunt soldier is going to get in there, but somehow This idiot did, and he decided to speak against Fade Ratha, the psychotic twerp, going into battle. The only one present who can deny Fade Ratha going is the Baron. If he says nothing, you say nothing. Idiots number 1 and number 2 are just hard to accept because the Harkonnen society does not strike me as the kind to suffer fools. They have a harsh world, so anyone born on the planet has to be equally as harsh to survive or will either be killed or enslaved. And there's no way this guy didn't know Fade Ratha's reputation. Even outsiders knew what he was like. You'd have to be living under a rock not to know. And since this guy clearly wasn't, I guess he just took leave of his senses that day. What are some other good and bad uses of this villain trope? Leave them in the comments below. Now, on to villain trope number 2. A character being cruel to or killing an animal to let the audience know how evil he or she is. This is a trope that is so overused, or used just because, hey, why not, that it is often more a cliché rather than an actual tool for storytelling. It is taken on almost a, yes, cartoonish aspect when we see a villain kick or kill a dog. Oh, he killed the dog! That's how you know he's evil. Why did being cruel to a dog become a trope? Well, because it is a trope that needs very little work or explanation for people to understand why it is wrong. Dogs are the most loyal animal on the planet. The lengths they go to protect, comfort, and be a companion to humans is really remarkable. And there are so many movies depicting these four-legged heroes that tug at people's heartstrings. So when we see someone being cruel to a dog, we are immediately angry. And this gets taken advantage of in films especially. The only movie I can think of using this trope as an addition to the storytelling rather than as a cliché is Hondo. John Wayne's Hondo has a dog that is killed by this Apache, Silva, after Hondo beat him in a fight and Vittorio the chief spared his life. Now, we already disliked Silva long before he killed Sam, the dog. Silva is more the villain in this movie than Vittorio. He is constantly challenging Vittorio on his decisions, wanting to kill all the white men, women and children included. Unlike Vittorio, who is more interested in going after the soldiers, Silva is not concerned with the future of the Apache, but is more focused on the present and wants nothing more than to collect scalp and boost his own standing in the tribe. After Hondo spares his life, humiliating Silva before his people, Vittorio drops off the injured Hondo with the family who has adopted him. Sam, who had remained back during Hondo's capture and the fight, finally braves to go to the cabin only to be met by Silva. Unable to go against Vittorio and take his vengeance on Hondo, Silva instead hurts Hondo the only way he can, killing his dog. Given that we already disliked Silva before this, we know he's bad. This just adds to that dislike without making the scene feel like a cliché. Sam is not just any dog getting killed off. He's been vital to the story up to this point, tagging alongside Hondo faithfully, alerting him when danger was near, and hated by the Apaches because he helps Hondo kill them. When Silva kills Sam, this tells the audience that this is not the last time we will see Silva. He is not just a minor character causing trouble for our hero. He will return. And while it wasn't personal before for Hondo, it will be now. The most recent example of the trope that is a cliché is House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 1, A Son for a Son. I've been enjoying Season 2, but there have been a couple of times where the writing just isn't as strong, and the blood and cheese infiltrating the Red Keep scene is definitely one of these. I don't have an issue with it being different from the source material, I just wish the writing had been tighter. A couple times it felt like they were stretching out what was happening to pad the runtime. Like this argument between Blood and Cheese where Cheese says they can't go upstairs because the royals are up there and he doesn't have permission to go up. But Blood reminds him they were hired to kill a royal, so they have to go up. He threatens Cheese that he will kill him and take all the gold for himself. Cheese says fine, I'll lead you up there, and then he just kicks his dog. Cheese kicks his dog. Why? It's so random and not necessary. People who know the story already hate these two characters, and people who don't know the story, let the tension build. Blood and Cheese sneaking through the castle to find their target, Prince Aemon, not finding him, wanting Prince Daemon to pay them in full, so they kill little Prince Jaehaerys, who is 6. Let this be the crime that horrifies the audience, that incites their rage against these two characters, and thus will rejoice when they are caught and killed. Kicking the dog. I looked up this scene on YouTube to see what the comments were, and one said it was so random that he laughed when it happened. This is not the reaction you want from your audience. The scene is obviously there to tell those who don't know the story that these two guys are bad. especially this guy, because he kicked the dog. But as a person who knows the story seeing this, I felt nothing. Cheese wasn't abusive towards his dog until this scene. I tried rewriting the scene to see if it would work if the dog attacked Blood for threatening Cheese and Blood kicked the dog. But then Cheese would be mad at Blood for kicking his dog, and these two need to be evilly joined together in what they are about to do. Murdering the little prince doesn't work if there is contention between these two. They need to be united, and the audience needs to see that. This scene is just, oh, Blood threatened me, I'm gonna kick my dog, and I'm not gonna get mad at Blood for threatening to kill me. Okay? What other movies or TV shows is a dog being abused or killed more a cliché than a trope? What other villain tropes can you think of? And I'm putting part 1 on this video just in case I get inspired to do a part 2 on other tropes. See you in the comments below, and may you all find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Farewell.